What is up, everyone? Piscean here, crunching out videos today. We're going to talk about the Greater Benefic and the Zodiacal Wheel, a historical and advanced astrological treatise on Jupiter and Aries through Pisces. Before we get started, please like, subscribe, comment, share if you dare and care. With peace and love, I really appreciate you guys. Oh my goodness. Sorry, didn't mean to belch like that. So, this video is on the Greater Benefic and the Zodiacal Wheel. Like I said, a historical and advanced astrological treatise on Jupiter and Aries through Pisces. So, really quick, this dissertation offers a systematic, historically grounded examination of the planet Jupiter's natal placement in each of the 12 zodiacal signs from Aries to Pisces, drawing on primary sources spanning the Hellenistic, medieval, and Renaissance periods, including Ptolemy, Vitius Valens, Firmicus Maternus, Abu Mashar, Al-Biruni, Guido Bonatti, and William Lilly. The study integrates essential and accidental divinity schemes, sect doctrine, triplicity rulership, term and deacon lore, and Galenic temperament theory. For each sign, the traditional testimonies are collated, compared, and synthesized into an advanced delineation that accounts for sect, the condition of the domicile ruler, bound and face overlays, and talismanic deacon imagery. By situating Jupiter's zodiacal expressions within their original philosophical and practical frameworks, the dissertation demonstrates how the sign of the Greater Benefic acts as the archetypal lens through which wisdom, abundance, faith, and expansion are colored, strained, and ultimately materialized in a nativity. Okay? So our keywords here: Jupiter, zodiac signs, essential dignity, Hellenistic astrology, medieval astrology, William Lilly, deacons, sect, temperament, and historical delineation. Okay. So first, we're going to begin with an introduction here. So Jupiter, known to the Greeks as Zeus and to the astrologers of the Arabic period as Al-Mushtari, is the Greater Benefic, diurnal, masculine, hot and moist, sanguine, and humor, and the significator of wisdom, law, religious piety, children, wealth, and honor. Its 12-year orbital period granted it a prominent role in both natal and mundane prognostication, and its placement by sign was considered the first and most fundamental key to understanding how its expansive, synthesizing nature would manifest. As Ptolemy writes in the Tetrabiblos 1.4, the planets affect the changes of the sublunary realm according to the nature of the signs through which they pass, and no planet's beneficence is more thoroughly reshaped by a zodiacal house than that of Jupiter. This dissertation reconstructs the pre-modern astrology of Jupiter in each of the 12 signs, advancing beyond simple cookbook delineations by embedding the interpretations within the full apparatus of traditional astrological theory. Every sign discussion supplies the relevant dignities: domicile, exaltation, triplicity, term, and face, addresses the modification of Jupiter's natural temperament by the sign's elemental qualities, and evaluates the placement's relationship to sect, diurnal, or nocturnal. Where relevant, the deacon, face lords, and their associated magical images are brought to bear on the delineation, providing an advanced layer of signification drawn from the Picatrix and the Astromagia tradition. So the study proceeds by element: fire, earth, air, water, with each sign receiving a dedicated subsection that A. collates historical testimonies, B. analyzes the placement's essential dignity and temperament, and C. offers a synthesized advanced delineation. Primary sources consulted include the following: Claudius Ptolemy, Tetrabiblos, Foundation of Sign Planet Temperament Blending, and the Ptolemaic Triplicity Term Phase System. Vitius Valens, earliest extant collection of Hellenistic natal delineations, many sign-by-sign Jupiter descriptions. Firmicus Maternus, a Latin synthesis offering vivid character sketches for planets and signs. Abu Mashar, the abbreviation of the Introduction to Astrology, source of the triplicity scheme used by later Arabic and Latin authors. Al-Biruni, the Book of Instruction in the Elements of the Art of Astrology, systematic treatment of planetary dignities and temperament. Guido Bonatti preserves numerous Arabic and medieval delineations. And William Lilly, the most complete Renaissance English source, providing temperament, physical appearance, and life condition delineations for Jupiter in every sign. The methodology follows the traditional essential dignity framework, but with an insistence on the primacy of sect. The methodology follows the traditional essential dignity framework, but with an insistence on the primacy of sect. Jupiter is a diurnal planet. Okay, its presence in a nocturnal sign, which is Taurus, Cancer, Virgo, Scorpio, Capricorn, Pisces, places it out of sect, somewhat diminishing its external radiance and turning its expansive energy inward. even while other dignities, domicile, exaltation may offset the effect. The triplicity rulership system employed is the Dorothean scheme from Dorotheus of Sidon, 1st century, preserved by Abu Mashar, as it is the most widely used in pre-modern needlework. Fire, sun, day, Jupiter, night, Saturn participating. Earth, Venus, day, moon, night, Mars participating. Air, Saturn, day, Mercury, night, Jupiter participating. And water, Venus, day, Mars, night, moon participating. For terms or bounds, the Egyptian system is used. For faces or decans, the Chaldean system. Delineations are offered first for nativity of unknown sect, then qualify for diurnal and nocturnal charts where relevant. Alright, let's look at Jupiter and the fire signs. So Jupiter and Aries to start out with. We look at the essential dignities, and we see Aries is the domicile of Mars, exaltation of the Sun, and the detriment of Venus. Jupiter holds no domicile or exaltation here, but in a nocturnal nativity, it is the night triplicity ruler of the fire triplicity. A major dignity that partly mitigates the peregrine state otherwise produced in a day chart. So Egyptian terms, Jupiter itself holds the first 6 degrees, Chaldean faces 0 through 10 degrees, Mars, 10 through 20 degrees is Sun, and 20 through 30 degrees is Venus. Temperament, Aries is hot and dry, choleric. Jupiter is hot and moist, sanguine. The combination overheats the constitution. Excuse me. Producing a choleric sanguine blend characterized by impulsivity, courage, and a restless physical energy. D Money, how's it going today? How are you doing? I'm on Meet Me Live. Whoa. So historical testimonies. We see Valens in his Anthologia 1.12. Jupiter in Aries makes men illustrious, golden, versatile, commanders of troops, but sometimes changeable and suddenly thrown down from high places. Firmicus Maternus says in his Mathesius v.3, those with Jupiter and Aries will be great leaders, always striving for glory, but they must guard against arrogant overreaching. William Lilly describes a ruddy sanguine complexion and oval face, a bold enterprising spirit, one who obtains preferment in martial or military employments, if afflicted, a prodigal and a braggart. We look at the advanced delineation here. So when Jupiter occupies Aries, excuse me, the expansive impulse of the greater benefic is charged with the martial fire of its host. So the natives' faith and confidence become weapons. They prosper in arenas of conflict, initiative, and pioneering enterprise. Jupiter's natural magnanimity grows theatrical, sometimes boastful, and the natives' ethical system is forged through risk-taking and direct confrontation. We look at that sect distinction, and we notice in a diurnal chart, Jupiter lacks triplicity dignity, and the overheating is unmoderated. The native may overpromise, burn bridges, and experience the sudden falls Valens mentions. In a nocturnal chart, however, the night triplicity rulership gives Jupiter the resources of a bound lord. Its generosity is more consistent, and military or athletic success is more stable. Look at that term and phase. If placed within the first 6 degrees, Jupiter's own terms, the planet gains an extra layer of coherence. Its wisdom is expressed through controlled audacity. In the second phase, being the sun, honors are illuminated, the native enjoys recognition. In the third phase, which is Venus, martial passion mingles with love, creating an ardent romantic leader, but potential conflict between Venus's peace and Aries' war emerges. The deacon image of the third phase, a woman in red holding a golden ball from Picatrix, strengthens the capacity to attract wealth through valor. Okay? So now, let's look at Jupiter and Leo, what that entails. So, we're actually going to have to deal with this very, very soon. We have Jupiter going into Leo. Okay, so the essential dignities of Jupiter and Leo, the domicile of the sun. Jupiter is peregrine here in a day chart, but again, becomes night triplicity ruler of fire in a nocturnal nativity. So exaltation is of Pluto, Neptune, non-traditional schema, clean. Terms Jupiter 0 through 6 degrees again, Venus 7 through 12 degrees, Saturn 13 through 20 degrees, etc. Faces 0 through 10 degrees Saturn, 10 through 20 degrees Jupiter, and 20 through 30 degrees Mars. Okay. That temperament. Leo is hot and dry, okay? The choleric heat is amplified, but the fixed quality gives steadiness. With Jupiter's moisture and heat, the result is a bold, dignified, and constant sanguine choleric temperament, often florid in appearance. Alright, sorry guys. So, we look at our historical testimonies, and what do we see? Valens said, Jupiter in Leo makes men noble-minded, famous, ruling over the people, but sometimes they suffer through children or through great beasts. Firmicus says, they will be eminent in high office, close to kings, and they will have power over the lives and deaths of men. Lily said, a majestic, upright person of a ruddy and hair color, commanding eye, just and generous, a lover of justice and decency. Now we look at that advanced delineation for Jupiter and Leo. We see Jupiter in Leo acts like a king enthroned. The self-confidence of the line amplifies Jupiter's royal and priestly authority. These natives thrive in roles of visible leadership, theater, performance, and statecraft. Their moral code is emphatic, and often theatrical. They lead by inspiration. And we look at the sect. In a nocturnal chart, triplicity, dignity, the generosity becomes truly solar Jovian. Prosperity flows from public esteem. While in a day chart, the sun's absence of reception can make the ego excessively dependent on admiration. The promise of ruling over the people can sour into tyranny. In the face overlay, the second face, Jupiter's own face, 10 through 20 degrees Leo, is particularly auspicious, granting what medieval authors called the fortune of kings, a natural dignity that commands without demanding. The third face, Mars, creates the crusader or the passionate reformer, occasionally headstrong and combative in the pursuit of truth. Jupiter in Sag, with the essential dignities both domicile day and triplicity night being present. Here, Jupiter is essentially strong regardless of sec, though it rules the fire triplicity only at night. Terms, Jupiter 0 through 6 degrees, Venus 7 through 13 degrees, etc. And the faces 0 through 10 degrees Mercury, 10 through 20 degrees Moon, and 20 through 30 degrees Saturn. We look at that temperament. Sag is hot and dry, choleric, mutable, bringing Jupiter's hot, moist nature into perfect balance. The fire is tempered, creating the most genuine, sanguine temperament, optimistic, philosophical, athletic, and generous to a fault. Alright? Historical testimonies. Ptolemy says, Jupiter in Sag makes men magnanimous, just, lovers of philosophy, and successful in public life. Leland said they become priests, prophets, or those who interpret the divine will. They are honored in foreign lands. Lily said, a tall, upright stature, a fair, ruddy complexion, an oval face, a very wise and understanding man, strongly addicted to religious exercises and the study of high things. Here Jupiter is in its chariot, the archetypal sage and cosmopolitan. The native's entire life is in an odyssey of meaning. Spiritual, intellectual, and geographical quests dominate. Science mutability prevents the static arrogance of Leo or the rashness of Aries. Instead, wisdom accumulates through perpetual movement and inquiry. Sect. In a diurnal chart, Jupiter is a domicile lord, giving perfect alignment. Native is a natural mentor and lawgiver. At night, the triplicity dignity adds a prophetic, almost mediumistic intuition, a guru type. And the face. The first face is Mercury, produces a brilliant teacher-writer. The second is the Moon. It gives a popular, instinctive leader, attuned to the masses. And the third is Saturn. It matures Jupiter into a philosopher of great depth, sometimes a legislator whose teachings survive the ages. Now we're going to take a look at the Earth signs. Jupiter in Taurus to begin with. So we look at those essential dignities again, the temperament, historical testimonies, and our advanced delineation. So Taurus is the domicile of Venus, exaltation of Moon. Jupiter has no essential dignity in Earth signs under the Dorothean triplicity scheme. Participating lord is Mars. Hence Jupiter is peregrine, reliant solely on terms, faces. Terms, Jupiter rules the degrees 16 through 22 degrees Egyptian. Faces 0 through 10 degrees Mercury, 10 through 20 degrees Moon, 20 through 30 degrees Saturn. Additionally, Taurus is a nocturnal sign, placing Jupiter out of sect. Cold and dry, melancholic meets hot and moist. The result is a tempered, stable, phlegmatic, sanguine blend, patient, comfort-loving, and abundant in physical form. Valens says, Jupiter in Taurus makes men inheritors, fond of luxury, but sometimes sluggish and thrifty to the point of greed. Firmicus said, they will be wealthy through land and possessions, but may suffer scandal through their desire for pleasure. Lily said, a middle stature, a broad face, somewhat dark in complexion, a lover of women, a good nature, but often obstinate. So Jupiter expands the Venusian sensuality, creating a connoisseur of art, food, and physical security. The native's faith is expressed in tangible accumulation and steadfastness. The out-of-sect condition can lead to an inner struggle. The soul desires expansive horizons, but the sign roots it deeply in material routine. When supported by Venus, the domicile ruler well-placed, the native prospers in banking, agriculture, or the patronage of the arts. In the bounds of Jupiter, 16 through 22 degrees Taurus, the planet's peregrine status is softened, and the generosity becomes more conscious. The patron. In the second phase, Moon, public affection and fertility follow. The third phase, Saturn, may bring heavy but lasting wealth, often through inheritance or land. Jupiter in Virgo. Essential dignities. Virgo is the domicile and exaltation of Mercury. Jupiter is here in detriment. The most weakening essential debility alongside fall, triplicity or triplicity only. Virgo is Earth, so no triplicity connection. Terms, Jupiter holds no terms in Virgo. Venus, Mercury, Saturn, Mars bounds. Faces 0 through 10 degrees Sun, 10 through 20 degrees Venus, 20 through 30 degrees Mercury. Virgo is a nocturnal sign, out of sect. Okay? Cold and dry, melancholic, heavily constrains Jupiter's hot and moist nature, yielding a nervous, critical disposition prone to worry, a melancholic humor with sanguine fluctuations. Valens said, Jupiter in Virgo makes those who are barren, unmarried, or fall from prosperity through their own pettiness. Firmicus said, they will be learned in languages and secret arts, but will lose their patrimony through deceit or legal entanglements. Lily said, a tall, slender body, not well formed, a good scholar but very punctilious, often a critique and too exacting. So Jupiter's wisdom is forced through the sieve of Mercury's analytical earth sign. The native's philosophy becomes a system of exacting rules. There is a deep need to perfect knowledge, but the blessing of Jupiter can curdle into moralistic nitpicking. The detriment often signals a crisis of faith, where the native must consciously build meaning from small, humble pieces rather than receiving it as a birthright. In the best cases, this placement creates the meticulous scholar, the editor, the healer, whose compassion is practical. Success is found in service, hygiene, or sciences. The sect out of sect condition makes public recognition for wisdom delayed. The native often toils in obscurity until their work is discovered posthumously. If Mercury, the domicile lord, is strong, the native's intellectual talents can override much of the detriment's severity. The second phase, Venus, can bring a gift for artful crafting, while the third phase, Mercury, emphasizes intellectual prolificity. Holy shit. But health, especially digestion, remains fragile. Okay? Jupiter in Capricorn. Capricorn is the domicile of Saturn, exaltation of Mars. Jupiter is here in its fall, the positions of maximum accidental weakness. No triplicity, dignity, and a nocturnal sign out of sect. Terms, Jupiter holds no terms. Mercury, Jupiter, weight, Egyptian terms for Capricorn, Mercury 1 through 6 degrees, Jupiter 7 through 12 degrees, Venus 13 through 19 degrees, Saturn 20 through 25 degrees, Mars 26 degrees through 30 degrees. So Jupiter does have terms 7 through 12 degrees Capricorn. This matters. And then we look at our faces, 0 through 10 degrees Jupiter, 10 through 20 degrees Mars, and 20 through 30 degrees is the Sun. Capricorn is cold and dry. Jupiter's heat and moisture are suppressed, producing a Saturnine temperament with melancholic gravity that only occasionally breaks into mirth. Okay? Valens said Jupiter in Capricorn brings troubles from superiors, loss of inheritance, and a life of hardship, though with a late dignity if Saturn is well placed. Firmicus said, they will be unlucky in their pursuits, often reduced from a high station to a low one, but if aspected by Venus or the Moon, they recover their fortunes in old age. Lily said, a weak, consumptive body, Often a mean-spirited man who is envious of others' prosperity, but with the help of a good Saturn, he may attain to civil promotion late in life. So, the fall of Jupiter is the most profound test of its beneficence. Here the native may doubt the very existence of meaning, facing poverty, exclusion, or institutional oppression. Yet this is also the sign where Jupiter learns prudence, discipline, and the value of enduring wisdom. The late bloomer signature is pronounced. Jupiter's rewards arrive only after Saturn's lessons are fully internalized. Term distinction. If Jupiter is within its own bounds, 7 through 12 degrees Capricorn, the fall is substantially mitigated. The native can become a wise administrator, an elder statesman, or a spiritual authority within rigid traditions. For example, a monk, judge. The first phase, Jupiter, similarly lends the native a residual spark of innate dignity. The second phase, Mars, can bring a ruthless ambition that eventually overreaches. The third phase, Sun, can lift the native to public office, but often at great personal cost. In all cases, Saturn's condition as domicile lord is paramount. A strong angular Saturn dignifies the fall and yields the civil promotion Lily mentioned. Moving on to Jupiter and the air signs. Jupiter in Gemini. Gemini is the domicile of Mercury, and Jupiter is in detriment here. The other Mercury rules sign alongside Virgo. However, Jupiter is in the participating triplicity ruler of the air signs, day or night, giving a minor but meaningful dignity that Virgo lacks. Gemini is a diurnal sign, so Jupiter is in sect, which helps. Terms: Jupiter 0 through 7 degrees Egyptian, Venus, etc. Faces 0 through 10 degrees Jupiter, 10 through 20 degrees Mars, 20 through 30 degrees Sun. Hot and moist sanguine of Gemini combines with Jupiter's own hot, moist nature, creating a double sanguine temperament, extremely sociable, curious, and mentally restless. The body's often tall, lean, and quick. Valens said Jupiter in Gemini produces writers, merchants, those who profit through words, but they are changeable and often scatter their talents. Formicus said they will be learned in many arts, but their inconstancy will prevent them from mastering any single discipline. Lily said a tall, upright, well-composed body, excellent in all manner of wit and learning, a natural orator, yet too facile and subject to duplicity. Detriment: Jupiter in Gemini manifests not as suppression but as dispersion. Okay, Jupiter synthesizing wisdom fragments into 1,000 brilliant but disconnected ideas. The native is a natural polymath, a journalist of the soul, but may lack the concentration for deep philosophical system building. The sect alignment diurnal makes the native's intellectual gifts publicly visible and rewarded. They become famed talkers, scribes, or commercial magnates. Participating triplicity lends a background sense of social justice and intellectual fairness, even when other indicators suggest superficiality. The first phase, Jupiter, strengthens the oratorical power, producing a teacher of great popularity. The second phase, Mars, inclines to combative debate, sometimes legal career. In the third phase, the Sun adds a touch of authority. The presence of Jupiter in his own term 0 through 7 degrees bestows a philosophical coherence. Beneath the surface dazzle, the native can find profound unity and multiplicity if discipline is applied. Alright, Jupiter in Libra. And I actually have this placement in the 6th house. But this is just talking about Jupiter and Libra in general. So we look at the essential dignities. Temperament. Libra is the domicile of Venus, exaltation of Saturn, fall of the Sun. Jupiter has no major dignity here, but again is participating triplicity ruler of air. Diurnal sign, Jupiter in sect. Terms: Jupiter does not hold terms in Libra. Saturn, Mercury, Jupiter. Wait, Egyptian terms: Libra. Saturn 1 through 6 degrees. Mercury 7 through 13 degrees. Jupiter 14 through 21 degrees. Venus 22 through 28 degrees. Mars 29 through 30 degrees. Yes, Jupiter terms 14 through 21 degrees. Faces 0 through 10 degrees is the Moon. 10 through 20 degrees is Saturn. And 20 through 30 degrees is Jupiter. Hot and moist of Libra, sanguine, joins Jupiter's sanguine nature, but the cardinal air instigates a strong need for relational harmony, justice, and beauty. Now we're going to look at our historical testimonies and that advanced delineation. Hold on one sec. Alright, so our historical testimonies, we see Valens said, Jupiter in Libra makes men just amiable art lovers, but they are often threatened by lawsuits concerning inheritances. Firmicus says they will be honored for their sense of equity, often become ambassadors or judges beloved by women. Lily says, a graceful, handsome person, just merciful, a lover of peace, and if the artist be a painter, he attains great skill. Jupiter in Libra expands through relationship. The native's faith and fortune are tied intimately to partnership, aesthetics, and the law. The search for meaning finds its home in dialogue and harmony. While not essentially strong, the placement's sect alignment and triplicity participation allow the native to move gracefully in society, accruing influence through charm. In the bounds of Jupiter, 14 through 21 degrees Libra, the native becomes a wise arbiter. In the Saturn bounds, 10 through 14 degrees, justice acquires a stern karmic gravity. The third phase, Jupiter's own phase, offers a double Jupiter emphasis, sometimes producing a spiritual teacher or a philanthropist. The danger, as Valens warns, is over-reliance on others' approval, leading to inheritances or legal matters that entangle the native in the very harmony they seek. Jupiter in Aquarius. So we look at those essential dignities, temperament, historical testimonies. So Aquarius is the domicile of Saturn, day, and traditionally also Saturn's or Uranus in modern. Jupiter holds the participating triplicity of air again. The diurnal sign in sect terms Jupiter 0 through 6 degrees Aquarius, Egyptian, Jupiter 0 through 6 degrees, Venus 7 through 13 degrees, etc. Faces 0 through 10 degrees Venus, 10 through 20 degrees Mercury, 20 through 30 degrees the moon. Okay? So hot and moist air of Aquarius with Jupiter yields a fixed sanguine temperament, humanitarian, intellectual, but somewhat emotionally detached. Valens said, Jupiter in Aquarius makes friends to the common people, lovers of liberty, but they often suffer through radical opinions and the hatred of the powerful. Firmicus says, they will be defenders of the public good, but will be persecuted by those in authority. Lily said, a middle stature, well-set body, and an inventor of new things, a friend to all, but not very fortunate in advancing his own estate. So Jupiter's expansion in Saturn's air domicile creates the revolutionary idealist. The native's faith is placed in collective progress, utopian visions, and fraternal bonds. Unlike the personal authority of Leo, Jupiter here disperses its blessings among groups, often at cost to personal fortune. The participating triplicity underscores an unshakable sense of cosmic justice. In the bounds of Jupiter, 0 through 6 degrees, the native's idealism is more grounded in practical reform. The first phase, Venus, draws popularity and artistic collaboration, while the second phase, Mercury, produces the scientist reformer. And the third phase, Moon, brings public empathy. So the main historical caveat recorded in all texts is the native's precarious relationship with entrenched power. Saturn, as domicile lord, must be well placed for their liberty not to become exile. Now we're going to go ahead and look at Jupiter in the water signs, starting with Jupiter in Cancer. Alright, now we are going to talk about Jupiter in Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So, Cancer is the domicile of the moon and the exaltation of Jupiter, and the only sign where Jupiter is exalted. Alright, Cancer is a nocturnal sign, placing Jupiter out of sect, but the strength of exaltation largely overrides this. So we're looking at triplicity, water triplicity lords are Venus day, Mars night, Moon participating. No Jupiter triplicity dignity. Terms, Jupiter 0 through 7 degrees, Cancer, Egyptian. And faces 0 through 10 degrees Venus, 10 through 20 degrees Mercury, 20 through 30 degrees Moon. Cold and moist, phlegmatic meets hot and moist, producing an extremely moist, phlegmatic, sanguine temperament, nurturing, imaginative, protective, with a tendency toward corpulence and emotional saturation. Ptolemy said, the exaltation of Jupiter in Cancer signifies the greatest magnification of fertility, nurturing, and patrimony. Valens said, Jupiter in Cancer is most fortunate, granting reputation, wealth from the sea, or from inheritances and many children unless it's opposed by malefics. And Formicus says, they will be blessed with great riches, loved by their parents, and will advance through the kindness of women. Lily said, a middle stature, full body, pale or freckled face, a good-natured, indulgent man, fond of his belly and his home. So, exaltation makes Jupiter a nurturing patriarch. The expansion of the soul occurs through emotional bonds, family, homeland, and imagination. Faith is deeply personal and often inherited. The native's generosity flows toward kin and clan, though out of sect, the nocturnal nature only deepens the intuitive, receptive qualities, making the native a seer or a poet of the domestic sphere. So the bound of Jupiter, 0 through 7 degrees, intensifies the exaltation, often producing prodigious fertility, literal or creative. The first phase, Venus, brings charm and artistic success. The third phase, Moon, connects the native to the public heart. The dangers include overattachment to comfort and avoidance of necessary risk, but well-aspected displacement promises what Lily called a blessed and plentiful old age. Jupiter in Scorpio. Scorpio is the domicile of Mars, night, with no major dignity for Jupiter. Water triplicity gives no Jupiter role. It is a nocturnal sign, Jupiter out of sect. Terms, Jupiter holds the terms from 0 through 6 degrees Scorpio, Egyptian, Mars 0 through 6 degrees, Jupiter 7 through 14 degrees. And we must be careful here, so Egyptian terms for Scorpio, Mars 0 through 6 degrees, Jupiter 7 through 13 degrees, Venus 14 through 20 degrees, Mercury 21 through 27 degrees, Saturn 28 through 30 degrees. So Jupiter terms 7 through 13 degrees. Phases 0 through 10 degrees Mars, 10 through 20 degrees Sun, and 20 through 30 degrees Venus. Cold and moist, phlegmatic but fixed water. With a Mars rulership that adds a choleric undercurrent, Jupiter's hot, moist nature creates a brooding, intense, phlegmatic, choleric blend, passionate, secretive, and profound. Valens said, Jupiter in Scorpio leads to gain from dead men's goods, from legacies, or from the secrets of others, but there is danger from slander and from private enemies. Formicus says, they will be investigators of hidden things, often priests of mystery cults, but subject to envy and poison. Lily said, a middle stature, a thick body, dark hair, a subtle and penetrating understanding, one who delights in the arcane and will profit from the dead or by inheritances. So Jupiter's light plunges into the underworld. Faith is forged through crises, transformation, and the acceptance of mortality. The native's wisdom is of the shamanic variety, inheriting the resources, psychological and material, that others discard or fear. The placement's profound ambivalence arises from the fact that Jupiter's expansive generosity expresses through Mars' poisonous sting, thus fortunes rise from the ashes of loss. In its own bounds, 7 through 13 degrees, the native gains a moral compass within the darkness, often becoming a healer, surgeon, or financial executor. The first phase, Mars, can make the individual a crusading warrior. The third phase, Venus, brings lucrative partnerships that are both passionate and tangled. The constant historical warning concerns slander and hidden enemies. Jupiter's openness is here, wrapped in a cloak, and the native must learn discernment to survive. Alright, Jupiter in Pisces. Pisces is Jupiter's other domicile, the nocturnal home. It is a nocturnal sign, placing Jupiter out of sect, yet as the domicile lord, this is a position of essential strength. Water triplicity, no Jupiter terms. Jupiter does not hold bounds in Pisces. Venus 0 through 8 degrees, Mars 9 through 14 degrees, Moon 15 through 20 degrees, Saturn 21 through 26 degrees, Mercury 27 through 30 degrees in the Egyptian system. Phases 0 through 10 degrees Saturn, 10 through 20 degrees Jupiter, 20 through 30 degrees Mars. Cold and moist, phlegmatic joints, hot and moist, producing the most fertile, phlegmatic, sanguine temperament, dreamy, compassionate, artistic, and occasionally dissolute. Valens said, Jupiter in Pisces gives authority over sacred things, makes priests, prophets, or those who interpret dreams. They are compassionate but easily deceived. Formicus says, they will be priests, temple officials, and great interpreters of the divine will, loved by all for their mercy. And Lily said, a short, thick, ill-composed body, but a gentle, quiet nature, exceedingly charitable and often endued with a gift of prophecy. Jupiter in its own sign, though nocturnal, represents the purest distillation of the planet's spiritual beneficence, the mystic, the renunciant, the boundless philanthropist. Here, Jupiter's wisdom dissolves all boundaries. The natives' faith is oceanic, and their mission is to heal through compassion. The out-of-set condition simply turns the natives' light inward, making them a contemplative rather than a public sage. The second phase, Jupiter's own phase, 10 through 20 degrees, is the jewel of this placement, often marking the horoscopes of great religious figures and visionary artists. The first phase, Saturn, adds a somber, penitent quality. The third phase, Mars, stirs the missionary or crusader. The lack of Jupiter's own bounds in Pisces means the native must rely entirely on the domicile strength. The condition of Jupiter itself, retrograde, combust, etc., becomes paramount. When dignified, the native saves souls. When afflicted, they become the holy fool lost in fantasy or intoxication. Okay? So now let's conclude this video. The zodiacal journey of Jupiter from Aries to Pisces maps the arc of the greater benefic soul, from the fiery self-assertion of the warrior to the water-dissolved unity of the mystic. Traditional astrology, in its rich codification of dignity, sect, temperament, and deacon imagery, provides far more than a catalog of character traits. It offers a dynamic theology of how grace, fortune, and meaning enter the human life. Jupiter's essential strength in Sag, Cancer, and Pisces produces the purest channels of divine abundance, while its peregrine states and detriments demand that wisdom be earned through struggle. The Earth and air signs force Jupiter into the worlds of matter and intellect, respectively, and in doing so create the full spectrum of human experience, from the banker to the revolutionary, the critic to the saint. For the advanced practitioner, no single factor renders a judgment. The delineations presented here must be modulated by house placement, aspects, especially to Saturn and Mercury, condition of the sign's domicile ruler, and the planet's phase relative to the sun. Yet, the sign alone, when thoroughly parsed through the historical techniques outlined in this dissertation, already begins to whisper the native's myth. Thank you for watching this video with peace and love, and I'll see you in my next video where we're going to go over an advanced historical astrological treatise on Uranus sign transits and the lunar nodes. I hope to see you there with peace and love. Piscean out.